Viewer discretion is advised.
Tommy Lee Jones, let's go home. Wesley Snipes.
Nah, you go home.
Give me a reason. I've been trying.
Yeah, I might go crazy. I might go MJ back in the 80s, back in the 90s. I might go off, or they better not try me. It might get dicey. I ain't trying to go back to the old me. I'm trying to hang on like my mama told me.
Strongly cautioned, the following programs are intended for mature audiences over the age of 18. These programs may contain some material that many parents would not find suitable for children and may include intense violence, sexual situations, coarse language, and suggestive dialogue.
Hope you have a better week.
I hope your month is full of successful days and a lot of great ventures. I hope you just come up, brother.
I hope your whole year is spectacular.
Oh, you hope my year is spectacular?
Yeah.
You got something you want to say to me?
You got something you want to say?
You smell great.
You smell great. What is that?
Burberry, what you got on?
I forgot.
It smells expensive.
It's just deodorant.
Okay,
yeah.
Good.
We smelling good. Some smelling good brothers out here.
You an awesome man, and I appreciate you.
What's good, Joe? Welcome to another edition of the AAC show. I'm a little bit under the weather at the time of this recording, so if I'm talking a little bit lower, if I'm not as expressive as I normally am, that's why. Just a little cold, like hot, not too bad. I couldn't really smell or taste anything a day ago, but my smell and taste is back. All right, the first film I'm going to talk about is actually one of my favorite films in recent years. I got the Blu-ray. Sorry to Bother You, film done by filmmaker, activist Boots Riley, starring Lakeith Stanfield, also with Tessa Thompson, Stephen Yeun, Danny Glover, Armie Hammer. Star-studded cast in this film. Was an independent film, came out in 2018. I saw this film twice in theaters. I was really excited about this film, especially after seeing the trailer. You can look up the trailer if you never heard this film first. If you want to look it up real quick and then return to this video, you can. I don't really care. I saw this by myself at the theater. Then I went to go see it with my cousin. I've seen it, I think twice on a home video, on Blu-ray. So this movie is a full-on satire of capitalism. Which Detroit, Tessa Thompson's character states in the film, was basically started by enslaving Africans. She states as a piece of dialogue in the film. There's a lot of good pieces of dialogue in this film, a lot of true pieces of dialogue in this film.
I'm just out here surviving, and what I'm doing right now won't even matter.
Baby, it will always matter.
Oh, get a room! I got a room, motherfucker!
Hey, Cash, how much longer I gotta wait for my money?
God made this land for all of us. Greedy people like you want to hog it to yourself and your family.
Me and my family?
Yeah.
Cassius, I'm your uncle.
Lakeith Stanfield plays Cassius Green, who is kind of down on his luck brother, who just needs a job. He fabricates lies on some stuff on his job application so he can get this job as a telemarketer. He gets in, and he's not doing too good so far. And then Danny Glover plays one of his co-workers, tells him to use his white voice. And I think I'm probably just going to link that scene because that's going to be better than me just trying to explain the whole thing.
Hey, young blood, let me give you a tip. Use your white voice. Man, I ain't got no white voice. Oh, come on, you know what I mean. You have a white voice in there. You can use it. It's like when you pulled over by the police. Oh, no, I just use my regular voice when that happens. I just say, back the fuck up off the car and don't nobody get hurt. Man, I'm just trying to give you some game. You want to make some money here? Then read the script with a white voice. People say I talk with a white voice anyway, so why ain't it helping me out? Well, you don't talk white enough. I'm not talking about Will Smith's wife. I'm talking about the real deal, like this young blood.
Hey, Mr. Kramer, this is Langston from Regal View. I didn't catch you at the wrong time, did I?
So Cassius starts using his white voice, and he's quote-unquote natural at it. And this leads to him becoming more successful within the company. His managers are really pleased by his performance, the job he's doing. Meanwhile, this character named Squeeze, played by Stephen Yeun of Walking Dead fame. Sorry, Walking Dead is just, don't get me started on Walking Dead. I just want to get this off my chest real quick. The thing that really ticked me off about the show was when, spoiler alert for Walking Dead, they made you think that Stephen Yeun's character had died, and then 2-3 episodes later they're like, oh, different camera angle, he didn't die, and then only to kill him violently like the next season. And they did the black characters dirty. But anyway, this isn't about Walking Dead, this is about Sorry to Bother You. So Squeeze is trying to start a union at the telemarketing company so they can make some more money and really have a fair chance. He says, we make the telemarketers, the people working, make all the profits, and the higher ups, the folks in charge, get all the profits. get all the money. Hopefully y'all get what I'm trying to say. So that's going on, and there's a bit of a conflict between the union going on and Cassius's kind of rise within the company. They tell him about something called a power caller, which is the floor above the regular telemarketers. Danny Glover alludes a little bit to it in terms of what they sell, because the telemarketers, they're just selling like furniture, stuff like that. He says it's like, Lakeith Stanfield's character Cassius says, so is it like comparing apples to oranges or something like that? And then Danny Glover's character says it's more like comparing apples to Holocaust. So power caller is a very prestigious position within the telemarketing company, but at what cost? What do they really do? Is it really worth it? It's less sort of a mystery, but that mystery unfolds as more of the film passes by, as the film goes on.
This is your moment. Don't waste it. You're going upstairs, power caller. They even have their own elevators.
Welcome, power caller. I hope you did not masturbate today. We need you sharp and ready to go.
Another featured character in this, heavily featured character in this film, played by Jermaine Fowler, Salvador, Cassius Green's best friend in this film. He was kind of the comedic relief. I don't want to just kind of regulate him to that, because he did have more to do in this movie than just tell jokes, but he was hilarious in this film. I did want to point that out. He's really funny. As I said, this movie is a satire of capitalism. So one of the things I find interesting about this film is very dystopian. It's a trip. It's a trip for sure. Not everybody's going to be into it. It's kind of artsy. I kind of like the movie. I'll get my final rating here in a little bit. But one thing I found interesting is they have a show on there called I Got the S Word Kicked Out of Me. I found that, I was like, okay, is that supposed to be kind of like Fear Factor, or like in a more extreme version of Fear Factor? So yeah, I thought that was interesting. Disturbing, a little bit disturbing. I also find one of the power callers is played by Amari Hardwick. You don't know his character's name. His name's kind of bleeped out, similar to how they did Uma Thurman's character in the Kill Bill movies. I find it interesting that this movie is kind of alluding to kind of like some Eyes Wide Shut, like Diddy, Epstein, like kind of level stuff. Once you get to the power caller moments in the film, I don't want to give anything away. I'll probably get into some more spoilers a little bit later here in a few minutes. But I found all that to be really interesting. All right, last two things I'll mention before I get into some spoilers. I like Tessa Thompson's performance as Detroit. Occasionally the character is kind of confusing in a way that makes you kind of scratch your head a little bit. I don't know if that was intentional, but it was just kind of confusing in a way that I didn't, it just didn't really click for me with her in certain scenes. The most confusing scene, and this isn't really a spoiler, I won't say exactly what happens in the scene, but those who've seen the movie, I'm talking about the art performance scene. I was very confused during that scene. I was kind of agreeing with Cassius when he, spoiler alert, stopped it. Spoilers on the screen. She's basically opening them up to throw bullet casings, like not guns, but like just like the bullet shells, balloons filled with wolf's blood or sheep's blood. I can't recall off the top of my head if it was wolf's blood or sheep's blood. And one more item, while she recites a line from the 1980s movie The Last Dragon, which I did on another episode of AAC show y'all can check out. During the scene, I was just like, okay, is this supposed to be like an extreme version of performance art? Because I have looked at that stuff a little bit when I was in college. Kind of weirded out by some of that performance art stuff, but I wonder if that's just like an extreme, if that's like that person's way of being extreme and trying to prove a point. Obviously scholars and other folks can argue about the effectiveness of it, but I wonder if that was alluding to extreme performance art. That's the only thing I could kind of guess. Overall, I do like the character of Detroit and Tessa Thompson's performance.
Worry-free CEO Steve Lift was interviewed on Oprah today.
No. Conclusively, no. Our workers do not sign contracts under threats of physical violence. So therefore, the comparison to slavery is just ludicrous and offensive. We're transforming life itself. We're saving the economy. I mean, we're saving lives. It's all highlighted in my book. I lay out the whole thing.
Another key element in this film, there's basically slave labor going on at this place in the movie called Worry Free, where they have people sign these lifetime contracts where they work at the place, but they also live there. It looks like prison. I definitely feel like it's kind of alluding to Amazon and their practices. As you can look up online, they kind of come under fire for how they treated employees. So I definitely think that the Worry Free stuff was alluding to Amazon a little bit, and I think this some prison stuff too. Yeah, I did want to mention that. That's another key factor of the film. Overall, what makes this movie so strong are its themes, the truths it points out. Even though this is Bruce Riley's first film he directed, some parts feel tonally inconsistent. Some of the jokes don't land, but the themes of like exploitation, how folks are exploited, how black folks are exploited under capitalism. Another interesting thing I thought was how some of the white folks, the white managers, are so eager to talk black, talk that hip slang. It's I feel like the movie's kind of knows what it's doing when they kind of talk like that. Another theme in this movie is also selling out. You get higher up, you get the money, the items, but at what cost? That's what this movie asks, but at what cost? Now, the film really goes off the rails in terms of the plot a little bit in the last 30 or so minutes with the plot twist. I won't reveal it, but I'll just say that for people who don't like shock value, if you are interested in this film but do not want to see the last I think it was 30 or 20 minutes where it just kind of gets off the rails of the plot and there's some disturbing imagery in there. There's a moment in the film where Lakeith Stanfield's character Cassius Green and Armie Hammer's character Steve Lift, the corrupt CEO of Worry Free, they're having a meeting, and then Cassius has to leave to go to the bathroom. Right when he leaves to go to the bathroom, you can turn the movie off if you just want to, watch the themes of, the satire of capitalism. Overall, I'm going to give this movie 4 out of 5 stars. I really enjoyed this movie, and Boots Riley has a new film on the way soon. As I've heard, I don't know too many details about it, but I'm looking forward to that. And I still have to finish his TV show / mini series. What was it called? I'm a Virgo. I did see the first 2 episodes. I like some of the themes in there. Also really weird and out there, kind of sorry to bother you. But I want to watch more. I gotta finish that series. All right, now to get into some spoiler talk. All right, so when the movie reveals the ultimate, this is just an extreme way of talking about or exposing / talking about how capitalism and how evil people will stop at no lengths to cut corners, take advantage of people, and make profits. But the way in which the movie does it is really kind of extreme. So Steve Lift, the corrupt CEO of Worry Free, and this is, y'all might look at me like people were looking at Lakeith Stanfield's character initially when he tried to reveal this information to people in the movie. They are turning humans into horse people so they can work more efficiently. Basically trying to enslave humans, basically on some crap like that. It's messed up. It's messed up. You might need to take a good walk after watching this movie. You might need to sit down and have a cup of tea, talk about it with a friend, because I really enjoyed the themes of this film. But yeah, the last 30 minutes is whoa. But yeah, 4 out of 5 stars for this movie. I thought Boots Riley did a really good job with the themes. The cast is great. Almost forgot to mention, all right, this is another spoiler. During the rap scene, first off, this movie points out, that some other movies, and as we all know, that some people just want to see black people as stereotypes when they egg Cassius Green on to rap during the party scene. When they're basically, the scene is basically commentary on what the racist white folks want to see when he's saying over and over again. And I'm going to bleep that out because I normally don't cuss on these videos. I paused the movie for a second. I rewinded. It didn't look like they actually had white people on set saying it. It didn't look like it because I could see them mouthing out the S word. But the part where they would say Nick, I could see either Lakeith's head was blocking out their mouths, or I couldn't see them mouth it. I just saw them mouth at the shit part. So I think this is just a theory that they had black people do that part, and they just made their voices sound a certain way. But I just thought that was kind of interesting. Also, some of the protest / riot scenes, as things get pretty tense, especially later in the film, might be kind of triggering. As I said, I was in some of the George Floyd protests back in 2020. It was just so tragic and unfortunate that it just had to end the way it did. According to Wikipedia, that was the largest demonstration in U.S. history, between 15 and 26 million people. So congrats, y'all, we made history. Michael Myers is one of the funniest horror movie characters of all time. Because you watch the movies and you're thinking, like, in real life, ain't no way I'll get caught by this dude. You know, he walks super slow, never runs. So I feel like that makes the movies kind of funny, even if they are kind of violent and gory sometimes. Just because the concept is like, all right, I can just outrun this dude. So there originally wasn't going to be a Halloween 2. John Carpenter didn't want to do it, but the studio kind of pressured him into it, and they offered him some good money, and he felt like he wasn't fairly compensated for the first one because it was made on a very minimal budget, I think like $300,000, and it made like $70 million. That's according to Wikipedia. So it made a huge profit at the box office. So he felt like he hadn't gotten enough money, so he decided to accept the job. He didn't direct though. He directed some scenes. He wrote and produced mainly, because he felt like, oh hey, I actually get some compensation this time. So I said in the last video here at AAC show, I do mostly action adventure and comedy films. So this time I'm deviating just a tiny bit, just because I'm just feeling a tiny bit festive for Halloween. I don't get too into Halloween. I just watch like a couple of horror movies. I think I might have forgot to watch Great Pumpkin, Charlie Brown. I always watched that as a kid with the family growing up. It's kind of interesting because I read up that this film was considered like kind of gory and graphic at the time. Now the effects feel outdated. There's only one scene. There's the hot tub scene. If you've seen the movie, you know what I'm talking about. I found the hot tub scene a little disturbing, with particularly one death in there. But there was a few other scenes, but like some of the scenes were unintentionally funny.
Look out! Slow down! What? Over there! Look! Is that him? I don't know. Get back! Run! Go on, run! Move it! Get back! Get back, you kid! Run! Move it! Stop! Get out of there! Move it! Stop! Stop! Shoot! Stop! Shoot! He came out of nowhere. I couldn't stop. Is it him? Is it him or not?
So this picks off where the first Halloween movie left off. Laurie being terrified by Michael Myers, has the kids leave the house. She thinks Michael Myers is dead. He pulls back up. Loomis is there, shoots Michael Myers a few times. Michael Myers isn't dead. This movie does introduce a key plot element that becomes crucial in the subsequent Halloween films. Now, there was one other Halloween film released after this, or there's a Halloween 3 released after this that didn't have anything to do with Michael Myers or Loomis or Laurie. Then it didn't do well at the box office, so they decided to bring it back to Loomis and Laurie storyline with Halloween 4, even though Laurie wasn't in there. Spoiler alert, the plot twist is that Michael Myers is actually Laurie's sister. I read that John Carpenter, came up with this only because NBC wanted him to come up with some additional scenes for the TV cut because it didn't take up enough of the time slot. Back then with cable not being as much of a thing, you had to fit it within like a 2-hour, I think, time slot, or I don't know if they were doing 2.5 hours back then, but a lot of movies, when they were shown on TV, if they didn't fit within that certain time slot, scenes were either cut out or scenes were edited in. I do have the TV edit of this film recorded on AMC. I do need to check that out. I'm kind of interested to see some of the changes and some of the stuff, because sometimes when they edit a movie for TV, it becomes unintentionally hilarious with some of the edits, like some of them dubbing over the cuss words and stuff like that. So I've seen the original R-rated cut of Halloween 2. For this video, I watched it for the third time. There really isn't too much of a plot with this movie. It's kind of a straightforward slasher. Michael Myers has escaped. Laurie's stuck at the hospital for the most of the movie. Michael Myers roaming around killing people. I just find it super interesting that this was considered like graphic or gory at the time, because now, just compared to some of the stuff you see now, this is nothing. Yeah, I read that the original director they wanted to have on it, who worked as the production designer and editor on the first Halloween movie, once he found out that John Carpenter, I didn't mention this before, John Carpenter decided to make this Halloween movie more gory and include a little nudity in there, because he felt like he had to compete with the Halloween copycats that came out after that first Halloween movie. I guess those movies included more gore and more nudity. It's kind of like a cheap hook. So he kind of succumbed to that. So the original director for Halloween 2 said, okay, I'm not going to do this. He eventually went on to direct Halloween 3. So the director of Halloween 2 is, let me see his name, Rick Rosenthal, directed Halloween 2. Also, John Carpenter came in and directed additional scenes because I just mentioned, he wanted the film. He's like, no, we gotta be more violent. We gotta do more nudity. So yeah, came in and did that. But as I said, it would be interesting to hear perspective on somebody that was like a teenager or like in their 20s, like when this came out. Because I said, I'm 29. I probably saw my first horror movie in high school. My first like R-rated horror movie, like uncut, not a TV edit, probably in college. I can't remember off the top of my head, but it was around sometime in like late high school, college. Like I had to have been like no younger than like 16 or 17. So to me, watching this movie, it's pretty tame by today's standards. I did think, and I will go into a little bit of a spoiler alert, I do think the bathtub scene was kind of like, all right, the way they did the woman there, the way they killed her, it was already disturbing. They didn't have to have her boobs out. I was kind of like, all right, come on. And I read on IMDb that neither of the actors wanted to do the bathtub scene with the nudity in there. The director kind of pressured, coaxed the male guy, the guy into doing it, and then he had convinced the woman to do the scene. I'll just say real quick, I did enjoy and get some kicks out of this movie, but I don't like when movies take advantage of like nudity or like shock value for just like a cheap thrill. I'm not a big fan of that. I do have issues with early Family Guy, but I used to watch Family Guy, but I jumped off that show when they started relying on shock value all the time. I don't like that stuff. It's not that you like can't show me something shocking or reveal something shocking in the movie, but when it feels like it's just done just to be for like a cheap thrill or just a cheap way to get someone invested in the movie, that's when I'm kind of turned off by it. So I want to give this movie 3.5 out of 5 stars, but because I kind of read that behind the scenes thing, that kind of makes me feel a little sour, somewhat. I don't always read behind the scenes for these reviews, and I haven't always. I usually do. For this one reason I read behind the scenes because this movie wasn't as plot heavy. I was like, okay, there isn't as much for me to talk about, so let me just look up a little trivia. Most of this stuff is from IMDb. Subjectively, I would probably give this movie like 3.5 stars out of 5. There are some dry parts. The first 20 minutes is pretty entertaining. The last 20 minutes are the first 20 minutes, last 20 minutes are the most entertaining parts of the movie. The middle section, there are some parts that are kind of dry, but overall it is pretty entertaining. I'm gonna give the movie 2.5 out of 5 stars, just because I'm gonna knock it. Just have to read that. That just makes me feel some type of way. All right, spoiler alert now. Michael Myers has some hilarious moments in this movie. Towards the end of the movie, he's walking towards Laurie, like super slow, has a knife out. And at this moment in the movie, you know, the plot twist has been revealed that Laurie and Michael are brother and sister. So she's like trying to like appeal to him almost, trying to like appeal to his good side. So she's like, Michael. And then he like tilts his head at her for a second. Like he's gonna like stop for a second, and then he just starts walking slowly at her again with the knife. It was just, I might link it. It was funny. And then she shoots him in the face. And then but it's not super graphic. Maybe back then it was, but then blood comes from he has bloody tears. And then he can't see. So he's like stabbing at the air for like almost a good 2 minutes before Loomis comes in there and blows his butt away. So like there's just like eerie horror movie music playing in the background, like kind of screeching. And you just see him like not seeing nothing, just swiping at the air. It's hilarious. One of the times I watched this was with a friend, and we both cracked up at another part. Michael Myers straight up bunny hops into the frame in this one scene.
He believes the suspect will be apprehended within a matter of hours. Neighbors say they heard screams during the early evening, but attributed the noise to the usual Halloween.
At the very, very beginning of the movie, Michael Myers gets shot, and he like jerks back the way it was just, I don't know. The funniest part about that scene was he gets shot in the face, jerks back. As I said, by today's standards, it doesn't look, now if they'd done it now, it would have been super graphic, but it didn't look super graphic to me. He gets shot in the face, and then literally like 5 seconds later, you see him like back up like it didn't happen. There's just unintentionally funny moments about this movie, and that's why I found it pretty entertaining, especially when I first watched it. One more spoiler. As we all know, black folks usually historically have not made it in these horror movies, these mostly white horror movies. The only black woman is the only black person really in this movie. I mean, there are a few black, like you see one black dude as like one of the paramedics, but the only prominent black character in this movie played by Gloria Gifford. Her death doesn't leave as much of a bad taste in my mouth as some other movies because her death is off screen. You still see like a pool of her blood on the floor. Almost immediately afterwards, the white dude who discovers her dead slips in the pool of blood and gives himself a concussion. I know, like, you're like, why am I laughing at this? It was just this movie just had unintentionally funny moments. I think it might just caught me off guard. But yeah, that unintentionally fun. Those are some of the best horror movies, I feel like. Old cheesy horror movies that are unintentionally funny. Said every now and again I might watch something that's really out there, or I might be with a group of people that are watching something, but I don't personally prefer a lot of gore and hardcore extreme violence personally. So I feel like I can kick back and have more fun with something that's like cheesy. But it's unfortunate that they had to force in some nudity and succumb to Hollywood crap. Right, y'all, thank y'all for tuning in to another edition of AAC Show. Hopefully I'm not as under the weather or under the weather at all next time I record. Next week, I got the first 2 Blade movies. I really enjoy these movies, especially the second one. I got the second one on VHS and DVD. And I got the first one on DVD too. I would like to get them on Blu-ray eventually. Have a blessed week, y'all.